What is good, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video. And in this, I want to break down what's happening with Tesla, SPY, Nvda, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I'm also going to break down some news involving the markets and Tesla, what you should be watching for as time progresses. Before I begin to delve all this information, before I get into any more details, let me just mention a couple of things. I am personally not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Moomoo link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Moomoo, deposit $100, you are guaranteed 7 free stocks. And the offer ends very, very soon, just about 2 weeks. Anyways, for the market, I just want to say that right now, as you guys can see, Tesla's on a bit of a downtrend right here. We're continuing to reject off our white trend line right here as resistance. We had this high here, we kind of came down, rejected it off it again, and now we ended up getting a test of it just earlier today as Tesla was trying to rebound. I did give you guys a warning that Tesla might try to push a bit, but after hitting this resistance at this 175 zone, Tesla's rejected just a bit, and now we made it back underneath our key EMAs. So I'm seeing a little bit of weakness right here in the markets for a temporary little drop, but that does not mean that we have to turn into perma bears and expect the market to crash or anything like that. For now, we are seeing a little rejection, so I'm going to break down more details about this just temporarily. But I first want to mention to everyone that when it comes to our economic data, we just have some bill auctions coming out in about 30 minutes, and that's pretty much it. There's no other data for the rest of the day. There's a lot of headlines right now about Tesla launching a limited time 0.99% APR loan rate in the USA for its Model Y orders. And that's actually very important because this is incentivizing more growth, more buyers, and such. So that's good for the new SUV purchases. And the Model Y is very popular, especially here in the US. So very, very awesome to see. There's also some more news coming out about how this Chinese company, I may say the name wrong, but it's Xiaomi. I could be saying that wrong. I'm sorry about that, everyone. But it's basically trying to develop its second model to compete with the Tesla Model Y. Honestly, guys, this is going to continue to happen. There are going to be more and more new EV companies coming out. We don't have to compare everything to Tesla, but the media loves to do it. So I just want to call that out. I was seeing a lot of headlines about this. But despite that, it's not the end of the world. I wouldn't be too worried about this. If anything, Tesla is still very popular in China. Their sales are going to be just fine for the long term. For the short term, with the price wars and stuff that are going on, yes, there could be these little hurdles, but I'm honestly just not worried about these new competitors. I'm sure Tesla will be fine nonetheless. All right, so what's happening with the market right now? Tesla went all the way up to 175. We tested this white trend line. I did tell you guys about that as resistance. And also, I expect this to go to at least 172 today. And I did call a little bounce on Tesla, which did end up happening. Now we hit this resistance in this 175 area. And now we're beginning to kind of reject here. So watch support currently at 172. If we lose this, we'll be looking for 170 all over again, then lower levels. There is a risk that Tesla could actually tip just a little bit more. I think it's going to shuffle a bit first, and then we could actually come down a little bit lower. But it's not looking that bad. It's not going to be that big of a drop because Tesla's gaining a little bit of strength. So it's going to likely hold up. I think that the high of the day might actually end up holding. We might just continue to shuffle a lot. So it's going to be a little bit boring, lots of sideways price action. We could dip a little bit later on, but it's not going to be anything too crazy, in my personal opinion. Mostly just range bound price action. So make sure you watch these levels. If we break this white trend, we would turn bullish, and then we're going to be looking for 178. By the way, if we fail to do so and we lose 172, look for 170. I think that we could shuffle a bit, maybe drop a little bit, and just continue to trade sideways. Not much is going on. And it's very similar to Nvidia because Nvidia is also just trading sideways. We have resistance at 908. We have supports at 900 and also at 892. And we've been going back and forth in this range. Let me show you the range, guys. Look at how Nvidia for the past 4 days, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And that's all we're doing. So we're just kind of range bound on Nvidia. That's all it's doing for the time being, nothing too crazy. How about for SPY? We have a bearish divergence double top leg structure, and we do have this gap to fill down here. So if we lose this 20 EMA, this 521 area, we're going to be looking for the gap fill all the way down to about 520. But even if we do come down, that does not mean we're going to collapse and just start sinking. We could actually test our 50 EMA. The 50 EMA, this yellow trend line right here. See the yellow line right here? This is going to catch up to 520 in my opinion if we do end up testing it. And then that could, we could bounce off that again. So it doesn't mean we have to just sink immediately down. We'll be watching our next support at 520 to see how we react from there. So watch 521 if we lose that. If 521 breaks, we could be coming down to 520. Then watch to see if we get a bounce or not. If we lose it, we'll be dipping even more. but watch for a test of 520 if we lose 521. That's pretty much what's happening to SPY. We have resistance at this 521.5 area and also in the very, very mid 522s would be the next level above that. We've been just shuffling at 521.2 for quite some time near our 20 EMA. There is a risk of us actually dipping a little bit, but even if we do dip, it does not mean we're going to crash. There's a big difference. It could just be a small little dip from there. For the QQQ, it's the same thing essentially. We're just shuffling right now at this 443 area. If we lose 442.5, we could be dipping down to fill this gap down to 441.5. And we have resistance at 444, not to mention 445.5. Overall, we're just shuffling back and forth. The price action got a nice double top like structure. And if we lose our 20 EMA, look for a little dip. So that's all I'm seeing for the time being. Nothing too crazy, my personal opinion. But for the QQQ with the double top like structure, there is a risk of this actually dipping towards our 20 EMA and even below that a little bit later on. But it might not be too crazy. It might be a little dip before anything else. Apple was showing some strength. I did mention in the morning that we could be looking for a test of 186.5. We came just under that. Now we're just continuing to shuffle. If we lose that support, I'll be looking for 185.5 and eventually test of 185, which is where we had a previous resistance right here. So this previous resistance zone will be our next very, very key support on Apple, 185. And we have 186.5 as resistance. So I think we might shuffle in this range for some time. Not really do anything too crazy. So the market's just kind of stuck in a lot of levels. Amazon is dipping. We actually lost support. We got a rejection off this current or previous area. And we have this 185 area as our key support. So we'll have to see what happens here. If we lose this, we're going to be looking for a bigger dip. If we hold this, we could bounce. But I do see a test of 185 coming. For Meta, it's the same thing. We're just barely holding support at 465. If we lose that, look for 463. And eventually all the way down towards 460. We have resistance. The tough resistance is going to be all the way up to about 472 and also at 470. Otherwise, we just shuffle. I do think there's a risk of it dipping a little bit more, but it's just kind of stuck for now. We have Coinbase also trading kind of size. We have a gap to fill down here on Coinbase, so I could see it retest 200. Might shuffle a bit and make its way down to 200 and try to bounce, so watch for that. The VIX is trying to bounce as well right here. The question is the bottom in for the VIX, and are we about to get a big breakout? Or is the VIX going to dip down one more time because the market is going to push higher one more time anyway? So I'll be watching to see if the VIX gets a breakout or not. We don't like to hold in the 12.5 area for too long, but there was an instance where we held in the 12.5 area just like one time for the year where we held it for like a week before we saw this thing break out again. So that shows us that the market, it could be in a topping process, but we're not 100% confirmed yet. It is possible the market goes higher later on and then we get a rejection, or we could reject from here. It all depends on a lot of data and what the VIX does. The reason why I'm a little bit uncertain about the true contingencies is because it depends a lot on PPI, it depends on Jerome Powell's speech and CPI. So we'll just have to wait and see. But for now, I do see the possibility of us dipping a little bit lower. We could dip just a little bit and then try to rebound a bit later on, and then nothing too crazy. And then after that, it all depends on a lot of data and things like that. So I'll give you guys a warning about more data for tomorrow a little bit later on today. Know that the market's showing a little bit of weakness, could dip a bit, but it's not the end of the world. And with that being said, I just want to say I appreciate every single one of you for listening. So we'll see how things go. I'll give you guys a nice update on Tesla, and we'll see what else is announced moving forward. But until then, thank you for listening. I'll be giving you guys another warning about tomorrow since we have more data coming out in just a couple of hours. And I'll be talking about everything else. All right. So thank you for listening. Have a great day and peace out.